This Long John Silver's 200 Betting Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that is available in 40 U.S. states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, NHL, NASCAR, F1, college basketball, and more. Sign up today using our promo code RACESGPN to get 100% deposit match.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you asked me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. The trucks are back. They took a week off. They decided to, they needed a rest, right? Those trucks, it's past their bedtime most of the time. So they got it. They had to take a week off, catch their breath, and they're coming back short track racing for the first time this season. Well, not the first time this season, but first time in Martinsville this season. So much fun to be had. It's a Long John Silver's 200 too, Cody. I don't know if you've ever been to a Long John Silver's, but I think it takes as long to get around this track as it does to. Never mind. I'm just kidding. I won't even
go. Yeah, can't say that I've been to Long John Silver's in the last 20 years, probably, but hey, it's good for them to be advertising. Like it. And Friday night, back to Friday night. I know we've had some Saturday double headers here lately, but Truck Series is back where it belongs on Friday night. So, yeah, I'm pumped for that. And Martinsville under the lights, we get that for both trucks and Xfinity this week, which is pretty awesome. They should put on a pretty good show.
They really should put on a good show. Obviously, we talked about it too, weather not necessarily a factor this weekend, so thank God for that.
Yes,
No wet weather
was
tires.
In this race last year. This was the initial test of the wet weather tires was this truck race, really, to be honest. Kind of the first time we saw them, and it went okay, but we didn't get a ton of actual racing in this race last year.
No, because didn't it get actually got cut off too, right? It got called because of the rain. I think it did.
Yeah, it ended up being shortened. So I think they were able to run the rain tires for a while, and then it really kicked in, and Corey Heim ended up being the winner because of when they red flagged it. He was out front.
Yeah, there was 124 laps run of this one of the 200 that were scheduled in last year's race, and I remember watching it from the hotel room. I was away on drill, and I was watching it from the hotel room, and I was like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me!" Because I'm pretty sure I had one of the drivers that was not necessarily in the lead, but fighting for the lead as the outright, and you had Corey Heim, and you ended up catching Corey Heim.
Yes, I did catch Corey Heim, and hey, maybe we'll do that again this year, Rod.
Maybe we will. Lynn checking in saying in the office listening. Thank you, Lynn, for listening.
Yes.
Hi, Lynn's office. Might not be chatty, but definitely locked in. Cody Bennett, Sammy Smith in the 7. Keep an eye out. We're
gonna be talking about that. Don't worry.
James says makes me hungry for some of that LJ's chicken and clams.
I think that's Long John Silver's chicken and clams.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with that one on that. But yeah,
yes.
Chicken. Yeah, clams. Maybe not so much. So speaking of clams, I know that baseball players love to hit those clams, right? Love to get it right off of the bat. I know you're listening to us. I know you're listening to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, and we love you for that. But there are several other awesome shows on this network that you should be checking out as well. We're featuring this month our MLB Gambling Podcast. All the boys down there holding down daily picks. I mean, listen, we have all 3 series for NASCAR, and we love to make ourselves seem busy, but these guys are every day picking, 10 to 15 games and giving you their picks for all those games every single day. No weekends off. No, they don't get to take holidays or anything like that. If there's baseball going, this podcast is cranking. So make sure you are subscribed to the MLB Gambling Podcast. We know you're DGens. We know you love all types of sports. So get down there and honestly, they're doing the Lord's work out there. I keep saying it every day, but it's true. So follow them, the MLB Gambling Podcast, for all of their daily picks and their podcasts. What are you waiting for? I know you shouldn't be.
They give you picks, I believe, for every game, Rod. I think there's 30 teams in MLB these days. I could be wrong on that, but that's 4,860 regular season games. So those guys are staying pretty busy over there.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll take our cute little 30 some odd races and complain because we're doing all 3 series. But speaking of all 3 series, we are doing the Truck Series, like we said, scheduled for 200 laps around this 0.526 mile paved track for a brief 105.2 mile race. Sometimes you forget how short truck races truly and really can be. Thinking about the 400 laps that we got in the Cup Series, 250 but you only get 200 laps. It's only a 100-mile race. I mean, 100 miles is what I drove round trip today, Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100 miles is quick and short. I mean, these laps at Martinsville go quickly, so the laps tick off extremely fast. It goes by so quick, and that makes it important to not make mistakes. You get spun around, you have a speeding penalty. It's going to be pretty hard to recover from that because there's just not enough time to do it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you look at the all-time kind of leaders on this track and the drivers that have done the best on this track. And what's crazy is you look at it and you're like, well, especially in the win category. So Johnny Sauter has 4 wins on this track. Then it goes Matt Crafton, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Grant Enfinger, John Hunter Nemechek. But there's only down to Corey Heim. There's only 10 drivers that are currently racing on this track that have a win on this track in general. So, and most of those aren't even racing, a la Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, John Hunter, Joey Logano, William Byron. So essentially there's 4 or 5 active drivers that have a win on this track. So talk about handicapping out of our ass today.
Well, honestly, I think this is going to make the handicap easier. This is going to be part of my handicap in a lot of these bets, Rod. In a general sense, this is a pretty weak field. I mean, and we'll kind of break it down and get into some of these picks, but a lot of times there's been Cup Series guys in these truck races at Martinsville in the spring, and you don't have that this year, right? Again, we've talked about it. The guys like John Hunter not here. Zane Smith is gone. Hocevar's gone. There's it just as you're looking through the odds, and surprisingly, we're getting some pretty good odds on a few guys, which is absolutely outstanding. But yeah, it really is kind of a weaker field from the aspect of not a lot of starts here, not a lot of wins here, obviously, like you just mentioned. So definitely interesting. While we're touching on that, Rod, the entry list, only 33 entries for 36 spots. So if you've got a truck and you want to go into this race, it might be too late now, but hey, the MBM guys don't announce drivers until 2 days before the race. So maybe you can, who knows? 33 entries in the rotating cars or notable entries. William Sawalich is going to be in the 1 truck for Tricon. We'll be talking about him. Sammy Smith, as Cody mentioned earlier, is going to be in the 7 truck for Spire. You've got Cam Waters in the 66 truck for Thor Sport, and Jack Wood, everybody's favorite Truck Series driver, back in the 91 for the McAnally Hill team. And that's really kind of your notable entries for the Truck Series this week.
Yeah, kind of a ho-hum, but the odds were good, like we'll talk about, but kind of a ho-hum lineup. Nick Fortune shaking and saying truck race called Long John Silvers and Xfinity race called Dude Wipes kind of go hand in hand.
Well, you have Long John Silvers on Friday night, and then you use Dude Wipes on Saturday night.
Wipes on Saturday. Anyway, so yeah, it is kind of and what I gathered too, when I was looking up and down, I thought this series kind of does miss the Carson Hosevars of the world. It misses the Zane Smiths of the world. Granted, we've got some great guys coming up through the field, but I don't know. Maybe we just have to wait another year for a couple of these other guys to really marquee name themselves. I don't know. Maybe the Taylor Grays of the world, the Williams.
Yeah, and it's not. Again, it's not that there's very talented truck drivers. Like I don't want to say that there's not by any means, but yeah, the star power that we've had kind of year in and year out, and guys that are returning that have been doing it a bunch of years, like you don't so much have that. It's kind of Corey Heim, Christian Eckes at the top of the board. Ty Majeski you can kind of lump right into that next group, and then I mean it's kind of a fall off. Like you've got your veterans like Crafton and Friesen, but other than that, like there's not a bunch of other big names or guys that, and there's up and comers like Raja Karuth in the field, and Tyler Ankrum has been performing better. Like we've got a lot of really good truck drivers, but as far as like being a strong competitive field up at the front, at least this week, we just don't really have that. And to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with that because there's some really good bets to make this week on the Truck Series. I did not struggle finding bets to fill the card this week, Rob.
No, you did not. And really just taking a look at the overall winners this season should tell you exactly how varied this field really is. Started off with a win from Nick Sanchez at Daytona. Kyle Busch came down, grabbed a win in Atlanta. Then Raja with that big win in Vegas. Eckes on the short track at Bristol, and then Corey Heim taking it and getting it done in Austin. So, I mean, this is as varied as the different track styles have been. Completely different outcomes when it comes to the outright winners. So there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of talent in this series. Not going to knock the talent at all, but like you said, it's just the marquee names are yet to emerge from this that are going to steal the show. There's the Craftons of the world. There's the, like you were talking about, the Rhodes, the champions, but those guys, it's not necessarily past their prime, but that they're not the top of the banner anymore. The young kids coming up are going to grab that spot.
Although one of them might be the top of the banner this week, Rod. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we will. I was surprised to see you add his name after I'd already put him down.
Jumping in on, hey, the numbers speak. So we'll talk about it, but in on a guy that I'm not in on very often.
Indeed. All right. Well, then let's talk about all of our bets. But first, let me tell you about some more bets that you can place on Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is brand new, and it's a better way to bet. You can bet directly against your friends or other users on not just sports, but politics, pop culture, and any other events that have verifiable outcomes. There's tons of social features, too, that give it the feel of a betting social network. Cut also offers the lowest VIG and has fully customizable odds, which means you can create your own SVG versus Matt DiBenedetto bet over there, and we'll get better odds for that than we will on the books. Plus, Cut handles all the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anyone down for money ever again. Social features including group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, so much more, including rewards. Get cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. All right, fine. I'm going to go ahead and look for it later today, or if it's up, then look for it when it's up. But I will put the SVG versus Matt DiBenedetto up. I'll give you better odds on it than the books are giving you, and we'll go from there. You can take my money if you believe in Matty D. Well, I will take SVG and die on that hill in the Xfinity race. So download Cut today in the App Store or head over to cut.com. It's KUTT, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. You know, we love us some underdog fantasy here on this show. Every single week, we're giving you underdog fantasy plays for not just the Cup slate anymore, but the Xfinity and the truck race this week. When we do our DFS episode, we'll double up with underdog and give you all of our favorite plays. All you got to do, pick better than or worse than the projected finishing position of these drivers, stack up that multiplier and watch it shoot all the way up to the top forever your earning potential could be. There's other sports on there too. I know. Other sports exist. There's baseball, there's basketball, there's all kinds of great stuff. All you got to do there is pick higher or lower than their projected stat totals. And if you look for that little chili, there's a little chili that you can find next to some of these. They will give you a multiplier that can shoot your winning potential up to 100 times. Best of all, if you use our promo code RACESGPN, we are going to give you a 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, that is the promo code RACESGPN. Sign up today with that promo code RACESGPN to get your first deposit double up to $100. And you're also going to get an instant pickup special. So visit underdogfantasy.com or find them in the App Store. Don't forget to register with our promo code Race SGPN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as that instant pick'em special. Must be 18 or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Beautiful,
Trucks
Rod. Couple of things. Article dropped today over on sportsgamblingpodcast.com for the women's tournament. Some underdog picks. Go check that out. It was a lot of fun to write and get in on some different plays. And they got such cool ways to get down on stuff too. Like one of the girls that I wrote up is first quarter over 3.5 points, like 2 buckets in the first quarter. Boom, you're done. Like you don't have to worry about the rest of the game. Doesn't matter what she does. You got it. So go check that out. You can put those in with your motorsports plays as far as F1 or trucks, or they have all that and cross sport with anything else. So chat, Rod, happy Thursday. Let's go racing, boys, from our guy Walter. Nick Fortune says, let go Jack Wood. And also saying that I had to be nice to the Hawkeyes. Yes, I absolutely hate that Caitlin Clark plays for Iowa because I love her. She's amazing. I love watching her. And it's hard not to root for her when she plays for Iowa.
I love that Nick said, let go, Jack Wood. I know he meant let's go, but.
Yeah, and not let's go. Because that would sound like kind of a weird invitation.
Yeah, let go of Jack Wood. Let go of him. Fine.
Better than let's go, Jack Wood, because that could be a little different. But all right, Rod. Should we start off with our fantasy matchup here against our friends over on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show? Yes,
let's do that. I know that we're up ahead still, right? I mean, obviously they didn't have a race last week, so we couldn't kick their ass then. So
no race last week. We were modest to them a couple of weeks ago at the last Truck Series race. We scored 278 points. They scored 277. So a nice, easy win. We didn't want to run up the score on them that week. So currently we have 1,671 points. They're at 1,495. So holding a solid lead over them, Rod. Let's get to Martinsville Speedway entry. All right. So we need an A driver. Here's our options. We've got Ben Rhodes, Chase Purdy, Christian Eckes, Corey Heim, Jake Garcia, Matt Crafton, Nick Sanchez, Ty Majeski.
How many times have we used Ben Rhodes?
We've used him once, so we have 8 starts left. But Rod, we also have 9 starts left with Corey Heim. We've not used him at all.
Shoot. There we go.
We've been saving him for tracks like this.
We have. That's a good call. Because I almost thought we used him a couple of times, which is why I shied away from him. But thank you.
We've been saving him. So we've played the strategy pretty nicely so far. We built up this great lead, some wild card tracks in there with super speedways and stuff, road courses, whatever. And we've saved Heim. And although we probably could have played him at Coda, I guess, because he did well there. But we're going to start him this week. All right, we need 2 B drivers. We've got I'll just name the guys that I think we should play. This is a long list. Grant Enfinger, Lane Riggs, Stuart Friesen, both Gray brothers, Timmy Hill, Ty Dillon, Tyler Ankrum.
So I know you want to go ahead and throw Riggs in there, which is fine. I'll go with you,
especially because. So 2 things on him, right? He's again, we're saving starts on other guys because he's a part-time guy and he's really good at short tracks. We're going to talk about him a little bit. And then who do you want for the other one, Rod?
So I don't want to keep burning up Taylor because I feel like he's going to be relevant all season long.
I mean, we've only used him once. So we still have 8 starts left with him. He's on fire right now. He's got a lot of momentum. I'm good with it if you want to play him.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, again, it's just I don't want to shy away because I know he's going to score points, and I can't think of anybody else I want to put over him other than Ankrum. But
I mean, yeah, and I'm going to make a case against Ankrum at this track specifically. So, and we've already used him twice. So I think we can save him over there. Yep. Groups Rod, we've got Bailey Curry, Jack Wood, Justin Carroll, Raja, Spencer Boyd, Thad Moffitt, or William Swalich.
We only have one?
Yeah.
So then it's got to be Swalich, right?
Yes, you are correct. That was the correct answer. I was going to put that in no matter what you said, but I'm glad you answered correctly.
Well, I mean, it has to be because he's not a full-time, right? And, you know.
And he should be solid this week again.
Absolutely.
Another guy we're gonna talk about today. So
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident in this starting lineup and using Corey Heim for the first time this year with the lead we have. That feels That feels pretty nice. I like it.
Feels like we've been cheating.
It almost does, which we have not, but we've gotten lucky a few times. But things have gone well for us, Rod.
Indeed. Which, by the way, if you don't know what this is, and if this is your first time listening to the Truck Series, we are in a competition against the NASCAR betting preview show, and we got Derek Yoder and Full Tank with Phil. They do a truck show for them as well, and it was Phil who came to us and said, "Hey, we want to take you guys on as a show." So they make their picks over there on their show. We make our picks on our show, and then the best week wins. But make sure you're listening to those guys.
Yes,
We've said it before, and we'll say it again. This community that we've built in this NASCAR gambling space has been fantastic. Phil is the OG. Phil got it all going, and then everybody else is kind of riding in his wake. But they are so great, and they have so much insight. Not just Phil's show, but the NASCAR betting preview show on Twitter, and Derek and what he's doing over there, and then Seth Elliott in the back road where I'm going to be tonight too. So much good stuff.
There's a lot of good shows, and as far as I know, they're the only other dedicated Truck Series betting podcast that's out there. It's us and them. So I don't know of any others that are consistently just focused on betting. So you love to see it, and it's fun, friendly competition between us. I don't by any means think we have this wrapped up, so we need to keep it up. I'm glad we have the early lead, but definitely go listen to those guys because they always do a good job as well.
Still a lot of laps left. Speaking of a lot of laps, there's not that many in this track. So Cody, why don't we get our betting card going for this before the red flag flies?
Let's do that, Rod. So mentioned earlier, you look at the odds this week, and you generally. Oh, thank you, Seth. I almost said it when we logged in. I almost said hello, Steve from Blues Clues. Seth Wilcock pointing out Rod's shirt reminds me of Steve from Blues Clues. Could not agree with you more. I might actually just call him Steve the rest of the show because he really does, and he pulls it off. Again, stripes not really everyone's thing, but Rod can get it done.
I love it. Get out. Well, when I tell you to get out your pen and paper, it's going to mean something a lot different at the end of the show. Yes,
it is. Okay, so when I look at the odds this week, Rod, I log in and look here. Sammy Smith in the 7 truck is the favorite this week. I kind of expected to see Corey Heim be the favorite, not the favorite. Sammy Smith at plus 300. Sammy Smith has one career Truck Series start, Rod. That was on Daytona, so you can't even really look at that, right? He's got no other Truck Series experience. I do not understand why Sammy Smith is the favorite. I appreciate that he's the favorite because then you get matchups like this, Rod. I'm getting Corey Heim plus 120 over on Superbook over Sammy Smith. I'm also getting Christian Eckes plus 115 over Sammy Smith on Caesars. The two best truck drivers in the field, no question about it, hands down. The two best trucks in the field, no question about it, hands down. Against a guy who has one career start in the Truck Series at a super speedway, so really even hard to know much about it. Now, the one argument that you can make for Sammy Smith, Rod, is in both races last year at Martinsville in the Xfinity Series, he looked very good, and he did really well. He finished second and third place. But, Rod, that was in super fast JGR equipment, which we know is good at this track, which we know is the best cars anywhere. And yes, he did something here, but overall, he didn't really do that much in JGR equipment last year. So maybe Martinsville is just his specialty. I guess you could throw that out there and say that, but I'm not buying into it. I'm not sold on Sammy Smith. I think he's not been good at JRM in any way, shape, or form. He's looked horrible over there. For a guy that I was big on when he came to JGR a couple of years ago, and it was like, all right, this kid could be the next coming. That wore off on me really quick because he stunk up the show most of the time, continues to stink up the show. Now you put him in the 7 truck, Rod. He's the favorite. It should obviously be the best truck out there, right? Kyle Busch killed the field every time he's been. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. It's just this truck hasn't been that good to where it's just crushing everyone, right? Even with Kyle Busch in it. Now it's Sammy Smith. Who gives a fuck? Sorry, Sammy Smith. I'm sure you're a great dude. Again, if you're old enough, which you might not be, love to have a beer with you. But Sammy Smith should not be favorited over Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. He's coming down into their series, and I would take these guys any day on almost any track over Sammy Smith. So not buying Sammy Smith at all. You go with Corey Heim. Look, one race here, I think he's only got one start here at Martinsville. He won last year, beat Kyle Busch. Now, again, asterisk, A lot of rain tires involved. He was out front, a lot of caution laps and everything, wins a rain-shortened race. But still did it, got it done. And look, he's just fucking good. I mean, he showed us to us last time we were out, right at Coda. Really good performance, killed everyone in the field. He is the best driver. We've seen it in the Xfinity Series, even in a lesser car last week at Richmond, how he was competing in the Sam Hunt car. So love him. He's also got previous experience here. I believe it was in late models is what I had seen where he's raced at Martinsville before. So not a stranger to this track. Christian Eckes. Now this one is a little bit harder to convince because he's 12th and 15th the last 2 years. So hasn't been the best finishes from him. But also I think we've seen a different Christian Eckes recently than we had previously. He's probably the fastest truck in the series so far this season. Again, if you're looking at the season we've had so far, I think the Eckes truck is the fastest one. So you're getting that. Again, to me, in the truck series, you've got Hyman Eckes up here, and then everyone else is well behind them. Again, to the lack of everything in this field, I guess you could say. He does have a 4th place finish here in 2020, so had a solid run then, 9th place even in 2018. Honestly, I don't even see Sammy Smith competing for a top 5. Maybe he competes for a top 5 just because the field's weak, but I will be very, very surprised if Sammy Smith is just out here whooping everyone's ass this weekend. And these numbers are completely mispriced in my opinion. If he beats me, he beats me, but I'm going to take full advantage of not believing in Sammy Smith, not believing in him being in the 7 truck being that great. So yeah, give me Corey Heim over Sammy Smith plus 120, Christian Eckes over Sammy Smith plus 115.
So there's a way in which I can be happy with a bet later on, and you can be happy on both of these as well, because I'm going to not necessarily buy heavily into it, but I'll talk about that in a little bit, because to me, I see your point, and I would normally not buy into the hype, but I'm kind of curious and speculating on something like that. So my brother decided to start from the beginning. So hi, my brother.
He's listening live 27 minutes ago.
Yes, he will catch up and then he will say hello. But first I want to take a matchup that I like, and I'm going to take Taylor Gray. We talked about him just a second ago in the fantasy picks. He's matched up against Nick Sanchez minus 120, and we talked about him just riding the hot hand right now. And Taylor Gray is a hot hand. Not only is he a hot hand here, but he's going up to the Xfinity Series and tearing it up there as well. We talk about good, solid finishes from Taylor Gray over the last few weeks in the Truck Series, right? 4th place in Atlanta, 4th at Las Vegas, 7th at Bristol after starting 3rd, and 2nd in Coda, a road course race that, very little experience on those types of track for Taylor Gray. This track has not always been the best to him, but he does have 2 8th place finishes. He's got an 8th place finish in 2021, an 8th place finish in 2023. But what's most impressive about that, Cody, he drove up through the field to finish 8th. In 2021, he started in 39th position and finished 8th. In 2023, 24th position to finish 8th. Of course, that was the rain shortened race, but still another 8th place finish. In between there, he had a 26th place finish on that one, but he was in the top 10 at the end of stage 2, which means he was still running through around the top 10, and he started 19th in that one. Just had some bad luck that he wasn't able to finish well. So we're looking at least an 8th place finish, right, for him on this track. That is his floor, in my opinion. Whereas Sanchez, boy, let me tell you, for as much as that Daytona win was great for him, his season has fallen off a cliff. 5th at Atlanta, you thought, okay, Nick Sanchez is here, right? This 2 truck has got something going. Well, it's got something going, but it's going the wrong way. 17th at Las Vegas, 17th at Bristol, 18th at Bristol. Nick Sanchez has not even had a top 15 finish for the rest of the season. Not very good. At Martinsville, not bad. Last year was his first start here. He finished 11th, but hey, guess who came in 8th and beat him head-to-head on this track anyways? Oh, yeah, that's Taylor Gray. So again, I think he can get it done. You're talking about one of the hottest drivers in in all of NASCAR right now, to be honest with you. If we're gonna, I know we talk about all the big dogs being red hot, but Taylor Gray is kind of going under the radar as far as a hot driver. And if I'm gonna get him at anywhere near this, it's not minus 160, it's minus 120. So the clues are leading me to taking Taylor Gray over Nick Sanchez at minus 120.
That's a great pick, Steve. I love it. Um,
Where's my blue ball?
yes, no, I love this play. Actually, very close to getting this one on my card. I decided to save a few for you, so I'm glad you took this one because I really like it. And to your point on Sanchez, like, oh my God, look at everything he's doing, Rod. Remember the magic pen after Atlanta? Doesn't matter what we've done these first couple of races. They've got that win in the back pocket, so you can remember that, but nothing else. And there's a good reason for that. And everything is going positive for Taylor Gray this year so far. So love riding the momentum, and I think he'll do well.
Beautiful. All right, where's the blue paw next?
Next up, Rod, gonna fade Tyler Ankrum this week, which I don't love doing, but I think is worth doing at this track. So I'm gonna take Lane Riggs over Tyler Ankrum, -110 over on Caesars. This is mostly about Lane Riggs, honestly. Lane Riggs, a guy we've talked about before, we're going to continue to talk about. When it comes to short tracks, this is the guy. If you go back a few weeks ago at Bristol, you remember them talking like, whoa, look at him coming up here and doing so well on a short track. And we're like, yeah, we knew this was coming, right? And it's going to be the same story again this week. Lane Riggs is strong on short tracks. And Tyler Ankrum just not real great this track. Now, Tyler Ankrum's season has been very impressive so far. We've loved what he's done. He's in a fast truck over there, being with McAnally now as well. So I think that and it might sound like I'm counter arguing. I made the opposite argument for Christian Eckes, but I think that Christian Eckes, who is his teammate, is on a different level than Tyler Ankrum. While they're in fast trucks, I think that Eckes's truck and talent is a lot more than Ankrum's, and I think Ankrum's been impressive. I think it's a fast truck, but not fully sold on him fixing all of this. I think he'll have a better finish than he maybe has in the past, but I think that Riggs is going to do well. So Riggs was 10th place at Bristol. You go back to IRP last season, 3rd place. He was 7th in that first career start at IRP in 22. Again, the short track thing from the late model scene, right? He's been doing all of that. Ankrum's finishes here, Rod, 27th. He did have a 10th, but then 26th, 12th, 25th, 19th, 12th, or 18th. Not good finishes at Martinsville for Tyler Ankrum. Just not his style of track and where he shines. So give me Lane Riggs over Tyler Ankrum, -110.
And so yours can hit and mine can hit at the same time. Because I do see a path for Lane Riggs to get somewhere inside of the top 5. And hell, I even think he could be competing for a top 3 by the end of it all said and done. I just don't have the balls to lay that out there for him to be able to do that. That 38 truck we know is fast. We know that 38 truck has been fast in the past, and we know Lane Riggs can drive that 38 truck like Zane Smith once upon a time did. So I'm okay with you on that one. However, where I will depart is I will say that Tyler Ankrum can get into the top 5, and I do love his number for a top 5 finish at +220 right now. There are books that have him even lower than that, like a +130 I think I've seen for Tyler Ankrum as a top 5. So what you had said about him, not being good on this track, absolutely. His average finish position here in between the 16, the 26, the 17, the 54 is 19.6. So not good at all, right? But he did have a 10th place finish in 2022 in the spring, which, was his best finish up until now. But you could take all of that and toss it out the window. I am just hitting the eject button on all the past stats for Tyler Ankrum, because what we've seen this season out of Tyler Ankrum is wholly impressive, right? A 7th place at Atlanta, okay, but 2nd at Vegas, 5th at Bristol, 2 solid finishes on conventional tracks, as it were, back on the ovals. In Austin, 25th place, but I'm not even counting that because I don't know that Tyler Ankrum even knew that he was on the track that day, and it was just a rough race from all the way around. But I'm really impressed from what I saw out of him at Bristol. Bristol was a rough race for these trucks, and for him to be able to salvage a 5th place finish out of that race. And by the way, he did actually beat Riggs in that one too. Riggs came in 10th, but Ankrum came in 5th. And, Ankrum started 9th. He had good speed from the beginning. So I'm really positive that he can do this again. He's proven that he's got speed in that 18 truck. He's proven that he can hang with the best of them and show up when he needs to and get a top 5 finish out of a short track. They're back on another short track, another half-mile track. So I expect the same from him this week.
It is amazing how those tracks are the same size and yet they're like almost nothing. I mean, they're both short tracks, but outside of that, like nothing else is alike, which is pretty great. So, I mean, plus 220 for the season he's having. I could see the argument. Maybe Riggs finishes fourth, he finishes fifth, and we cash both of these.
That's what I'm saying. There's a path to both of us winning.
Yes, sir. All right, Rod, next up, I'm actually going to stick in the Lane Riggs camp. I'm going to take the top finishing Ford at plus 275. JDK also tossing out in the chat that he is plus, or just top 5 is actually plus 350 over on Bet365, which is not bad. I would actually consider that as well. I did look at that, and I decided to go with top Ford instead. And here was my thinking on that. I don't think that you necessarily have to be top 5 to be the top finishing Ford in this race. So again, like we've targeted so many times before, the Ford group is not that big, Rod. There's 2, 4, 6. There's 8 drivers, but there's not really 8 drivers. It's when you break it down, you've got Ty Majeski at minus 130 as the favorite in this group. Should be, right? Short track guy, all this. I have no love or buy-in for Ty Majeski ever. So again, I'm not fading him this week necessarily, but leaving him off the card. I think he can have problems. He's very prone to having issues, very prone to committing mistakes. Wouldn't be surprised to see it from him again this week. You got Ben Rhodes, who's been solid here, but you know how Ben Rhodes is, Rod. He's just unpredictable. Then Lane Riggs is already the next favorite guy. You got Matt Crafton next, which a plus 550 is worth a look here as well. I've got different bets on him coming up. But other than that, Jake Garcia, as much as I love him, he's not done shit this season. Cam Waters, he's which we should have mentioned this, I guess, on the entry list part. He's another guy from the Supercars Australian Series, right? Coming over to make his first career start. Is probably in for a little bit of an awakening when he gets into this race, right? Then it's Lawless Allen and Stephen Malozzi, which I'm not concerned about. So really, it's kind of Lane Riggs against Majeski, Rhodes, and Crafton. I think at plus 275, it's a good number for that. So yeah, I'm going to take Lane Riggs to be the top finishing Ford at plus 275. But I don't mind the top 5 at plus 350 as well. I just feel like he doesn't have to be in the top 5 even to cash this top Ford bet. Could be, of course, but I don't think necessarily has to be. So maybe it gives you a little more wiggle room if he's just outside the top 5.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all too, because like I said, I think he could be in competition for a top 3, and I know neither one of us have him as an outright, but I mean, it could be worth some sort of a look. I just don't feel confident in him winning this race, but I think he's going to have a good solid finish. So
I don't know that he's to the point of winning, but I know he's going to have I know he's going to have a good solid run because he's going to show up for this type of track. And then Walter checking in also. Rhodes is like Joey Logano. He really is. I mean, he's so hard to predict. He could come out and win this and kill everyone, or he could run 25th, much like Joey Logano. So it's you just kind of have to pick and choose with those guys on it.
Yeah. All right. You know what? I'm going to flip my next one around because I also have a top Ford bet as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and get to that because I've got Matt Crafton as a top Ford at plus 550.
I didn't even realize you had that in there. So this is great. I love this. You play both of these and you're set.
Yeah. And I was, you talk about Rhodes, kind of a nice little lead into that. I was looking for Rhodes. I was looking for the way to get in on him because I thought top Ford probably because this is a decent enough track for him. But then I just couldn't get myself to do it because I saw Matt Crafton's number at plus 550. And I was like, oh, well, then that's has got to be the play. Because you look back, even just this season, you look back at Las Vegas. Who was the top Ford at Las Vegas? Oh, it was Matt Crafton in 7th place. And then the next one was Ty Majeski back there in 10th. You look back at Bristol. Who was the top Ford at Bristol? Oh, hey, in 4th place, there's Matt Crafton. And he started 20th. So honestly, I mean, just looking at the last 2 races alone, and again, because Bristol's the short track, you can sort of compare that because it's a shorter track, right? He was the top Ford in that one. And he looked fantastic, came all the way up through the field. We didn't even think that 88 car or 88 truck was going to be where it needed to be. And it just slowly built its way up. It was 7th place. Crafton was at the end of stage 2 and just kind of carried his momentum all the way to a good 4th place finish. So I think top Ford for him is fantastic because then I don't have to hit a positional. It could be the top Ford in 7th place because as we've seen in the past, you know, it's a lot of Toyotas and a lot of Fords or a lot of Chevys in the field. And like you said, Cody, there's not a lot of Fords to speak of. So if Lane Riggs doesn't get it done, then I got to think Matt Crafton would be the next best guy to get this done for you. So I really do love Matt Crafton as a top driver here. You're going to build on that case for him and lay some more stats down. But built on top of your next argument, I will say that will be good enough to be the top finishing Ford in this race.
Yeah, I've got more to say about him here in a second, but yeah, I think you play both these guys, plus 275, plus 550. Then they just have to beat Majeski and Rhodes. I mean, really, unless there's something crazy that happens in this race, I just don't see any of these other Fords getting up there to take that top Ford. So I think it's a great route to go.
Indeed. All right. Well, what do you got then? What do you got?
Well, Rod, building on that, on your argument, I'm going to build on your argument. I've got Matt Crafton finish in the top 5 at plus 500. Again, this could be where you just take his top Ford instead at the plus 550, like you said. Maybe you take both because he might be able to double dip. It does save you a little bit if you take the top 5 and a guy like Majeski, finishes 4th or wins the race or whatever, and then Crafton is still top 5. But look, is it 24-year-old Matt Crafton out there instead of 44-year-old Matt Crafton? Actually, he might be older than 44, but either way, kind of like a resurgence from Matt this season, over the last couple of races, right? He's kind of looked impressive, pretty great. Rod, we talked at the top of the show, pretty weak field as far as not a lot of starts, none of that. Do you know how many starts Matt Crafton has in Martinsville?
43, right?
40. I think it's 40 is what I saw in the Truck Series, which is a lot of fucking starts. Some of these, half this field doesn't even have 40 truck starts in their careers, let alone 40 starts at Martinsville. So he's experienced. He's won here twice before. And Rod, in the last 4 races, 3 top 7 finishes from Matt Crafton. He's actually been getting it done at Martinsville anyways. So if you're looking at the big picture here, a fairly weak field compared to a lot of weeks, right? It's kind of, in my opinion, you've got Hyman Eckes, then maybe Majeski, Sammy Smith, if you want to put him that high. I don't feel like he's going to be that high, but then it's kind of a big fall off after that, and it's kind of open. So a lot of value in top 5 markets in bigger numbers this week as far as being able to get some guys up there that maybe you don't necessarily expect. And Crafton is a guy who gets it done. He's been solid here before. He's already kind of riding some momentum as far as having a good season. So I don't see any reason he can't get it done. I do love playing him top Ford like you did. And I also like his top 5 at 5-1. And spoiler alert, Rod, actually got another bet on Crafton coming up in a little bit. So also in this box, I've got William Sawalich top 5. He's plus 300 over on Bet365. Look, talented young driver in a good truck. How many times have we talked about this before? You play these guys where you can find value on them. I think 3-1 for a top 5. Again, in a weaker field. He doesn't have to be Kyle Busch. He doesn't have to be William Byron or Kyle Larson. These guys aren't in the field. John Hunter Nemechek's not coming in this week, right? So weak field kind of opens up those spots. He was 9th here last season in his first career start, Rod. 9th place in Martinsville, first career start. Again, the rain race, all that, but he held on to things pretty well. So he's in that all-star truck that does pretty good. 6th place at IRP, 10th place at Richmond, 21st at Bristol earlier this season, but he ran better than that, had a speeding penalty later in the race that cost him a little bit. So that result is a little bit skewed towards the bad side and not necessarily a reflection of how he's run. But this is a very young, talented kid. He's not even available to bet on some books. I know DraftKings won't offer guys who aren't 18, so you're not going to find him over there. But I do like William Sawalich over on Bet365 to get a top 5 at 3-1.
I can't argue with you on that one. It's fun to cheer the kid on. I mean, honestly, it's a good story. I like that one truck. I've always really liked the one truck. So I definitely with you on that one. And yeah, I mean, listen, as far as the Crafton thing is concerned, I already talked about it. It's just, that's the way this goes. I didn't wake up this morning thinking I was going to be talking about Matt Crafton as much as I was, but definitely like him I like him for the top 5. I was going to initially throw that out there, but I didn't see the 500 number. So I think that must have either moved or I must have just overlooked it, but definitely like that. But I do like top Ford as well. All right, here is where I am going to talk about Sammy Smith. And if anybody wants to put their hands over their ears and not listen, that's fine. I know Cody had talked about the fact that he's only got 1 Truck Series start. Wasn't that fantastic? It wasn't that great. And he's not blowing the doors off of anybody this year in the Xfinity Series. However, that 7 truck this season has been decent enough to where I think a top 3 is within Sammy's grasp. Sammy's grasp for a top 3 at plus 130. I know the numbers are nuked to the point where it doesn't feel like it's worth it, but if you look at what the 7 truck has done, right? Even last week in Austin, or 2 weeks ago in Austin, the damn thing started on the pole, right? And ended up finishing 4th with Connor Zilich. Like, how is that not impressive enough? Second place for Kyle Busch at Bristol. Now, Kyle Busch didn't get it done at Vegas, right? He had a bad day, but this is Kyle Busch. Like, he has been junk lately, and no matter what he's setting foot in. In fact, I bet he's probably driving his cars on the freeway terribly. So I wouldn't take a bet on him on I-5 right now. I don't even know what this is. But he did win in Atlanta, but that's still Atlanta. You talked about what Sammy Smith has done in his career as far as in Martinsville in the Xfinity Series, right? Last 2 races. He started on the pole last year, led 147 laps, finished 3rd. In 2023 in the spring, he started 7th, led 6 laps, but finished 2nd. He did lead a lap in his first race on this track in the fall of 2022. Started 3rd, finished 18th in that one, but that was his first track. I mean, the kid was probably still 14 years old. I mean, he probably had woken up and eaten his Captain Crunch that morning and climbed into the car. But so, listen, I know that it's a stretch, and I know that it feels like it's probably not going to happen, but this is one of those instances where I feel like Sammy Smith needs to prove that he's to himself and to everybody around him that he's still a good driver. Because last season, right, in that 18, everybody knew Sammy Smith's name. He's kind of fallen into oblivion as part of JRM's stable. So maybe he needs a trip down to the Truck Series to remind himself that he's still a good driver. And this is an instance where he's in good enough equipment. We cannot argue that this equipment is not good. It's good enough to get Kyle Busch the win. It's good enough to get Zilich on the pole. It's good enough. So I think he can, as long as he can pilot it well, a 3rd place finish is not out of the realm of possibility. Do I think he can win? No, I don't think he's going to win. I think there's too many good people to do it. But I honestly think that even if Heim finishes and wins and Eckes finishes in 2nd, as long as Sammy finishes in 3rd, we're golden.
I know I said it's a weak field, Rod, but no, I zero interest in this. I really don't see. The books are all over him. I just don't see. I'll be interested to see. I'm sure Derek and Phil will have their Truck Series show out tonight. I'll be interested to see what their thoughts are on him as well, because I'm just not sold. I don't know what we've seen from him other than 2 good races in a really good car. This truck is average. The greatest Truck Series driver in the history of the Truck Series has been okay in it.
But he's been okay in everything. Like I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, but he's in shitty RCR cars in the Cup Series. That's totally different. I don't know. I'm not buying it. Maybe we need to cut this one. I'll give you plus 150 on this on Cut Rod. So if you're sold on Sammy Smith, hit me up and we'll do this, because I just don't see it from Sammy Smith this week.
Top 3 at minus 150. Where, JDK? I got him at a top 3 at plus 130.
Dang. Well, maybe he must have him. That's probably at 365, I think, is what JDK can use.
Oh, yeah. Look
up
at him
there in Canada. But so Caesar's hanging a great line for you there, if you're so inclined.
I would not take Sammy Smith at minus 150 for a top 3. No, sir. The fact that it's plus money, that's
put him in a head-to-head at minus 180, though. Rod's all over it.
Wait, who's that guy? Who's that supercar guy? We need to put him.
Yeah, Waters. He's probably going to win this race, right?
Yep, that's it.
All right, Rod. I am also going to hit the manufacturer group once again. This time I'm going to go to Top Chevy. Now, Top Chevy, a market we don't really talk about in any of the series very often. Xfinity will toss it out there. I guess this season I have tossed it out there quite a few times just because it's a weaker field, and that's really what I'm going for here. It's a weaker field. There's a lot of fucking Chevys, Rod. This is not a case of this being a small group. There's more Chevys than any other manufacturer here, but not a lot of good Chevys, and that's the thing here. So I'm going to attack 2 guys for Top Chevy, much like we did with Ford, with both of us having a Ford play. I'm going to take Christian Eckes to plus 210. Look, Rod, Christian Eckes is plus 400 to win the race, plus 210 to be the top finishing Chevy. Makes too much sense. He's probably going to finish 2nd place to Corey Heim. You can cash both of these. So I'm going to take him plus 210, and Grant Enfinger as well at 7-1. I think is worth a long shot. So you look at the Chevy field. Sammy Smith again, not interested. Then it's Christian Eckes is the next guy at plus 210. Nick Sanchez, you talked about how he's not been good here. I talked about how Tyler Ankrum hasn't been good here. Then you're all the way down to Grant Enfinger at that point. So 7-1. I love taking both of these guys. After that, it's kind of just a hodgepodge. Raja Karuth, like, things have been different this year, so maybe we see a good run, but I don't know that I'm sold on him doing well this weekend. Chase Purdy, no thanks. I mean, then Curry, Honeycutt, Dillon, Mills, like, not interested in anyone else who's into Chevy. So I think it really is kind of a small group up towards the top. And I think that you're getting really good value, really, really good value on Christian Eckes plus 210, and also good value on Grant Enfinger at 7-1. So yeah, I like both those guys to be the top finishing Chevrolets.
Yeah, and when you think about it, I mean, we talk about chaos on short tracks, and I mean, 6 cautions for 63 laps of course, a lot of that was rain for last year, but 11 for 71 in the 2022 race here on this track, and then 14 for 89. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can jump up and get it. But what we've noticed is at the top of the charts, these veteran drivers are not the ones that are usually mixed up in the melees. It's usually some of the other, and not a lot of cars are actually, or trucks rather, are out of the race. It's just, laps tick off.
It's a bunch of back markers spinning each other out, basically, overshooting into the corner. And to the point of Enfinger too, Rod, we know him as a short track guy, right? I know that this new equipment hasn't maybe been as good as the GMS stuff, but he won here in 2020. He's got 3 top 4 finishes in his last 8 races here. So he's got that ability to finish well here, which I think that at 7-1 is definitely worth the value. Maybe Eckes has an off day. I don't see Sammy Smith doing much. Enfinger could easily slide into being that top finishing Chevy.
I agree. All right. I'm going to go back to my favorite bets, and this time Cody will probably not argue with me. I'm going to go with the winning truck number. Caesars has the 10 to 19 range at plus 120. Who do you get in between the 10 and the 19 range? Well,
there's only two names you need to mention, Rod.
There's 3 in my opinion. You can
mention all of them, but
I will mention all of them, but there's 3 that I really think can contend for this, and I like the kind of blanket of all of these guys. So you get Corey Heim, you get Jake Garcia, you get both Grays, Tanner and the younger, then you get Tyler Ankrum, and you get Christian Eckes. So for me,
how is this group plus 120?
That's why I said you got to jump on this group, because plus 120 is a damn good price for the guy who we probably think is going to win this race, Taylor Gray, who has been red hot, and second place finish in Bristol, right? Or second place finish, wherever he had that. And then Ankrum, for me, he could jump up and steal a win, and then Eckes in a McNally truck again. So, I mean, those 3 are the biggest contenders for it, in my opinion. However, I think there's one that stands out above the rest. Cody actually got him already, but and I think both of us have one or both of these guys in this. So.
And again, it floors me how much Sammy Smith has affected the market this week, Rod. Like, 1 career Truck Series start. 1. He started 1 time. And it was a super speedway. It's not like he came out and dominated a Martinsville race and what, like, 1 fucking start, and he's at the top of the board. In this group that you've just given out, you have the second and third favorites to win this in Eckes and Heim. Once again, I will say, the best 2 Truck Series drivers in the field, hands down. The best 2 trucks in the field, hands down. You're getting them both in this group for plus 120? Like, if there's one bet you're going to place this week, it's this bet. Just go place this, walk away, and count your money later. Like, I'm floored at how much Sammy Smith has affected this market. It's blowing my mind, and you're getting really good numbers out here on things you shouldn't be getting good numbers on.
Do you want to? I'll give you a reference point as far as what the rest of the groups look like in the numbers, because you'll wonder why, just like Cody, this is the way it is. So as you look at the number bands, the winning number bands, they're giving you 10 to 19 is the favorite at plus 120, which is, that's all fine and well. However, where'd they go? Okay. 10 to 19 plus 120, 0 to 9 is plus 170. And that is where Sammy Smith resides in that 7 truck, right? 30 plus is 175. And then 20 to 29 is 75 to 1. So 20 to 29. Let me tell you what 20 to 29 entails. You got Steven Malazoli, you got Ty Dillon, Brett Holmes, Lawless Allen, Lane Riggs, right? Because
No, he's 38.
38. Never mind. So yeah, so those are
So
the
you
those
do
are the
actually you
cars.
just have the two guys because it's
Oh
only
yeah,
the Rayum truck and Ty Dillon.
that's okay. That's what it is. I was reading
Yeah.
too fast. I couldn't remember the number band in my
It's
head.
surprising they're even. I mean, why even list that one? I guess, but
No.
yeah, I
70.
mean, there's just none of these other groups like are that 0 to 9 like Sawalich, okay. Sammy Smith is dragging that number down, and then Enfinger, but I mean, getting Hyman Eckes alone. If you could give me those two guys at plus 120, I'll take that bet most weeks, especially this week. But you're also tossing in Taylor Gray. Tanner Gray's not been bad. Tyler Anker's been good this year. Like, we know Jake Garcia is a talented driver. He's just been on rough times. This honestly blows my mind. So, yeah, great call by you. As you know, Rod, I don't ever argue with your number bets. So
Listen yesterday. You'll get a completely different take on that one. So, all right. Winners, Cody. Who do we think is going to win outside of that? Inside of that 10 to 19 band.
Winners, Rod. Corey Heim plus 450 on DraftKings is the best gift you will get all year. Santa Claus came early. I expected when the odds came out this week for Corey Heim to be plus 150 or maybe even a lower number than that. Plus 450. He's plus 400 a lot of places if that's what you can get. I don't care. I mean, get in on this now. Get in on this early. It completely floors me again that Sammy Smith he's blown everyone's mind, Rod. One start in the Truck Series on Daytona. Just best Truck Series driver in the history of all time. Just destroying. I'm really just baffled by it. It's crazy. Plus 450 on Corey Heim is the greatest gift you'll probably ever get. So just hammer that. And then, Rod, as I always do, going to throw some insurance plays out there. William Sawalich at 20 to 1, I think is worth it. Maybe we get a little chaos. He's a really good young driver, very talented, also in a Tricon truck, just like Heim is. I expect that to be good. And Matt Crafton's 35 to 1 over on DraftKings as well. I think that's a really good number. As we talked about him earlier, 3 top 7 finishes in the last 4 races here at Martinsville. He's already been looking pretty good here. He's won twice before. Maybe the veteran's got one more in him. He, last time he broke his win streak, I think it was at Kansas, and it was kind of just random. Like, hadn't even been running that great. Just all of a sudden, boom, popped up for a race, won it. He's on another long winless streak. So I think that, hey, maybe Corey Heim, breaks, speeding penalty, something like those are the only types of things I see him not winning by. But things can happen, as we know. We saw it with Max Verstappen, even in F1 last week, Rod. It can happen. So if it does, I think Crafton at 35 to 1 is a really good bet to have. But man, it's all about Corey Heim this week. At plus 450. Again, it absolutely floors me. You're even getting this number. So go get heavily invested in Corey Heim before. I'm surprised the number stayed this way as long as it has. I would imagine at some point it gets driven down pretty quickly because people should be dumping money at this.
Well, I guarantee you that come qualification and practice day, it's not going to be this way when he qualifies somewhere near the front. You're likely going to see plus 250 if that. Yeah. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he sits on the pole and leads all 200 laps of this race. Like it really could be. It's such a weak field, Rod. Like there's just. Man, it's all about Heim, and like if you want to just go in on Heim and Eckes or something, I mean, do it that way, whatever. But just take Heim, like that's all you got to do.
Or if you also want to diversify your portfolio, just in case something happens and the Martinsville Monster grabs out and swallows Heim whole, take who I think will be right there with them toward the end of this race, and that's Taylor Gray, 14 to 1. We talked about him to begin this betting card, and I'll talk about him to end this betting card. Look, all things are coming up Taylor right now. I mean, I know that Tanner probably hates it, and it's probably been his whole life that Taylor's been getting all the glory, but Taylor's earned all the glory, especially this season over the course of the last few races. Like we said, I'm not even talking about super speedways. I'm talking about Las Vegas 4th. I'm talking about Bristol starting 3rd, finishing 7th, and then, of course, starting 3rd, finishing 2nd in Austin last week. But here's the thing. He can do it and move up a series. Last week, he went to Richmond. as far as the Xfinity Series was concerned in that Joe Gibbs Toyota, that 19 car. Started 27th. Dude got himself up to a third place finish in the Xfinity Series in his very first ever Xfinity Series start. So this kid can drive, and this kid knows how to get through short tracks as well, right? So again, for me, this is just riding the hot hand. He's going to punch through for his first win. I'd like to think that it could be this one. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that this is where he gets his first win. Should something happen to Corey Heim, granted, I'm with Cody on this one. I truly believe that this is Corey Heim's race to lose. However, the insurance plays, will get you right there. And I think Taylor Gray is a very good insurance play this week for an outright win, especially at 14-1. That's a great number for a guy who's on a streak as good as he is.
Yeah, no argument to that. You know how much I love Taylor Gray. This could very well be the weekend he gets it done. I think something's going to happen to Heim for it to happen. But if it does, he's definitely another great insurance play to have. And honestly, if Rod didn't already have him, I probably would have taken him. So
good stuff. See, this is why
good job, Steve from Blues Clues.
Get out your pen and paper, everybody. We're going to collect our Blues Clues and go over the bets for this Long John Silver's 200 truck race from the Martinsville Speedway. Cody started you off with Corey Heim over Sammy Smith at -120. I gave you Taylor Gray over Nick Sanchez at -120. Cody then added Christian Eckes over Sammy Smith as well at +120. I gave you Tyler Ankrum as a top 5 truck at +220. Cody gave you Lane Riggs over Tyler Ankrum at -110. I gave you Matt Crafton as the top Ford at +550. Cody gave you Lane Riggs as the top Ford at +275. I said Sammy Smith would be a top 3 truck at +130. Cody said that Matt Crafton would be a top 5 truck, and William Sawalich would also be a top 5 truck. Crafton at 5-1, Sawalich at 3-1. I said that the winning truck number would come from between 10 and 19. Cody said the top Chevy would be Christian Eckes at +210 and Grant Enfinger at 7-1. Cody then gave you Corey Heim at 4.5-1, William Sawalich at 20-1, and Matt Crafton at 35-1 to win the race. I said Taylor Gray would lurk from the shadows and strike for his first Truck Series win in Martinsville. All right. That is your graphic for those of you watching on YouTube, which, by the way, if you are, thank you very much. We're watching those subscription numbers jump up. Look, I'm not one to sit here and tell you that you need to do this, but I tell you what, reaching 1,000, for whatever reason, the Google overlords love that number. And therefore, if we reach 1,000 subscriptions, like the bosses start treating us better, they actually let us come up for air every once in a while. And I think that might be a good thing. So if you guys get us to 1,000 subscriptions on YouTube, just think of our health. That's all. You just, please do it for our health, because if nothing else, you want us to survive, and getting to 1,000 makes that possible.
Yeah, that's like the magic number on the YouTube is 1,000. That's when you really start. They start like actually promoting your show and doing all kinds of other stuff within the algorithms and whatever. That's the number of love. So we're gonna have a big party when we get to 1,000. Probably give away some merch and some other fun stuff, Rod. So we really, really appreciate it. If you're listening, jump over there and subscribe. Again, even if you don't want to watch on YouTube, it's fine. I wouldn't want to look at myself for an hour either. But hey, we appreciate the follow, the subscribe. It helps out, and you can catch live and get your questions in, get your thoughts and stuff as well.
Indeed. And then you get my cool blue sweater.
You can see Rod as Steve from Blues Clues. What character will he dress up for on tomorrow's DFS show? Who knows?
That's a good challenge. Maybe I'll take that on. Maybe I'll start taking suggestions from the crowd. Discord, hit the Discord. This is okay. Commercial for Discord. Hit the Discord and then tell me what I need to dress up as next time.
We'll see what Rod should dress up as. Oh, we did it.
Oh, you got it.
I knew we were going to do that. Bravo Sierra 89. You guys are doing a great job. Let's keep making some money. We appreciate it. That's what we're here for. I think Corey Heim is going to make us a lot of money for Heim time this week. So, Rod, in the meantime, follow me over on the X at @Husker_Zeeb. Find all my stuff over there. Ton of stuff out for sportsgamblingpodcast.com right now. The women's basketball tournament. Look, some people, they're getting all this attention, whatever. Like, it's been really good basketball. You don't want to miss it. I've got a picks article up for picking both games. Got some total stuff in there as well. for Friday's games. We're going to have Truck Series on one TV, women's basketball on the other. Let's fucking go. Got an Underdog article out for them as well. NASCAR article coming out today. Final Four DFS for the men is out also over there. So check all that stuff out. Plenty more stuff coming in the near future. Go back and listen to the earlier shows this week. Be back tomorrow with some DFS stuff. F1 Gambling Podcast out there as well for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's been a busy week, Rod, but we're almost to the end. Almost to racing time. The trucks are tomorrow night already. Love to hear it. So I could get those Corey Hahn bets in. The sooner the better.
Indeed. Follow me on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio. Everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's a sports book review. I've got WrestleMania picks that are actually legit picks out for this weekend's WrestleMania. If you're so inclined to have some fun that way, and of course, check out the Back Road later on tonight. Or if it's already the Friday, go check it out on the YouTube for In Between Media. Me, Seth, and Elliot will be talking about Martinsville as well. And then, AFL, if you're into arena football, we are getting into a hot and heavy media days happening all this week. So go check out that YouTube channel as well. We are busy folks, Cody, but we're never too busy for you. We love you all. We will see you tomorrow with the DFS episode for all three series. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.